Do we also want to spotlight?
We're watching.
Sorry.
Did somebody have, sorry, a question about spotlighting? Are you set?
Are we good on Zoom?
I can hear and see you fine.
Perfect. I'll try and stand right here so you guys can see me. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Howell. I'm running for the House District 23 seat, as Jan mentioned. Scoot back. Yeah, now you understand. Yeah, I'm running for the House District 23 seat, as Jan mentioned. Brian King, I've been the representative for about 16 years. He's moving on to be our next governor. And he's actually endorsed our campaign. Brian King and I think share very similar values and principles of integrity, of decency, and fighting against the extremism that we see on Capitol Hill. And one of the main reasons why I'm running is because I am sick and tired of the gridlock, of the contention and the extremism on Capitol Hill. And my mode of operation and leadership style is to work in a bipartisan manner, to build coalitions and to reach my hand across the aisle, to solve problems and really get things done. So I want to share a little bit about my past experience, my background, and why I'm running. I think it's important that people answer the question, why are you running? So I was born here in Utah, and civic engagement and leadership in politics truly is ingrained into the fabric of my DNA. When I was 2 years old, my father, Scott Howell, decided to run for the state senate. And he would literally push me in a stroller, going door to door, talking to voters. So at a very young age, I learned the importance of civic engagement, of giving back. And my father and other people, other mentors I had growing up, they were great examples to me, especially my mom, who worked behind the scenes to help the family while my dad was very busy in the Senate. Fast forward, in college, I worked in the Salt Lake City mayor's office with Ralph Becker in the communications department. So I got a good understanding of our city and how it operates. After that, I moved to Washington, D.C., worked on Capitol Hill for two different members of the United States House of Representatives, Congresswoman Janice Hahn from LA and Congressman Sam Farr from Santa Cruz, California. So there I got a good understanding of our legislative process and how effective policy is made. After that, I was recruited to go work on a campaign in California for a guy by the name of Ro Khanna. He's a sitting member of Congress right now, and we helped beat a 25-year incumbent with implementing some very disruptive and innovative campaign strategies. After that, I moved to Utah, to the Harvard-Yale area, and there are about 5 community council groups in this district, and I'm biased, but the Yale Crest is my favorite. I live on Harvard Avenue and 19th East, right across the street from Bonneville Elementary School. And when my wife and I moved back to Utah, I wanted to make a concerted effort to be a very engaged member of the community. Not just since I announced my campaign back in October, but for the past 10+ years, I've dedicated my life to serving this community. For example, I served on the board of the directors of the In-Between. It's a hospice center on 13th South. So I got a good understanding of the homelessness issue. I also served on the board of directors of the Utah Emerging Leaders Initiative. This is an organization where we help young people in Utah, because Utah is the youngest state in the nation when you look at the age of 18 to 35. So I served on their board of directors and helping millennials and Gen Zs get more civically engaged. I also volunteer every Wednesday at 12:30 at Bonneville Elementary School, helping the 3rd graders improve their reading skills. And I'll share a quick story in a few moments about education is my #1 issue. I also coach my son's junior jazz basketball teams as well. So I've dedicated a lot of my life to serving this community. And some of the greatest friendships and relationships that I've forged in my life are with people in this district. So what issues do I care about? #1, emphatically, people ask me all the time, what is your #1 issue? It is education. Specifically, the Salt Lake City School District has a strategic initiative that by 2029, they want to have 80% of K-3 students reading at grade level. And I've seen the data, I've seen the research, that if we can get our kids to read at 3rd grade, it has a a profound impact on their life. We have higher graduation rates. We have more kids attending college. We have more contributing members of society. And really, it comes down to being able to read at third grade. So that's a huge passion of mine. That's a legacy that I would love to pursue if I was elected. Rewinding a little bit, my dad was a state senator. One of the bills that he championed and passed was that he allowed kindergartens to have full day kindergarten in the 90s. At the time, they didn't have that option. So I want to carry on not only his legacy, but the legacy of a lot of other representatives who have endorsed our campaign, like Brian King. Also, Carol Lear lives in this district. She's on the Utah State Board of Education. I've met with her about education, and she has endorsed us. Karen Hale, the former state senator here in the district, she has endorsed us as well. So I just wanted to make all of you know that education is my #1 issue. Other issues that I care about, and these are listed on our website, is the environment, particularly the Great Salt Lake and air quality. And one of Utah's most effective non-for-profits, O2, they're an environmental not-for-profit, they've endorsed our campaign. And they have an initiative right now called Prosperity 2030, that by 2030, they want to reduce emissions by 50%. And what makes O2 kind of different from other environmental agencies, they're not just rallying on Capitol Hill, but they're actually trying to pass legislation to get things done. So that's a big differentiator between them and other environmental groups. Other issues I care about is affordable housing and homelessness. And as I mentioned, I served on the board of directors of the In-Between, which is on 13th South. So these are issues that I care deeply about. So why am I running? That's a little bit about my history and my background and experience. And I am running because I believe it's time for a new generation of effective leaders who listen, who are honest, who can solve problems and deliver results. And at the end of the day, that is my mode of operation. That's my leadership style. When I served on the board of directors of the Utah Emerging Leaders Initiative, I was a co-chair with a man by the name of Tyler Clancy. Tyler Clancy is a Republican representative on the Hill right now. He's 26 years old and he's a police officer. I think he and I represent this new generation who wants to go on Capitol Hill, work with each other to get things done and to solve problems. And Tyler's a dear friend of mine, and that's why I'm running. It's time for a new generation of leaders. And thank you so much for coming tonight. And as Jan mentioned, after we're going to do a Q&A. Is that right? Not right now. Awesome. Well, I would love your support and love your vote. I give my cell phone number out to everyone, and it's on our website. It's on our flyers over here. When we send out emails, and my promise to you is, if you reach out to me and I don't respond, then don't vote for me. But I want to be very, very accessible to the community, and I promise I will do that. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm on camera. There I am.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, perfect. My name is Cabot Nelson. I am running for House District 23 with the United Utah Party. Probably a political party you might not have heard much of. It is a third party. And the #1 issue that I have is regarding electoral reform. We need to break the two-party duopoly. I can get into it pretty big about how I feel about the two-party duopoly. Just, it sucks. It really does. It really does. Well, frankly, I would say that probably the U.S. Constitution sucks. Oh, did I say that? Yeah, I'll say it again. U.S. Constitution sucks. When the framers put it together, they made no mention about political parties. So consequently, we do face in the long-term concern, especially maybe after the next election, the possibility that if the Republicans control the Senate, and if Joe Biden gets elected, there will be no government seated because they have to do the advice and the consent of the Senate in order to put officials in place and the political appointees. Yeah, that's the potential we have because of the rot of the two-party duopoly has gotten us that bad. It's really bad. I'm no threat to anybody running into this race because I'll admit this is a safe Democratic district. Okay, whoever gets the the primary is most likely to prevail. But that makes it so that way I can express my opinion. Everybody is entitled to my opinion because I am running for office. It's something that I'm looking to connect with and understanding that electoral reform is something serious. It's been something that I've been running on this is about the fourth time running with this political party for the House district. I have great opponents right here. I'm very glad to meet them. And they're not, Scott Romney's not here to defend himself. That's fine. But when he talks about freedom, you got to ask, okay, is the Republican freedom for whom? Freedom for people with money and property. Those without can go hang. That's the concern that I have with the Republican side. And so be very cautious, especially for Republicans, because not only are they from that more libertarian side of whoever has the money and the property gets to have all the freedom, they're also trapped into a cult run by a horrible person, Donald Trump, who is, you'd want the Republicans to be able to call him out for the mendacious prick that he is. He's a horrible man. In the words of, what have I looked up before? Oh yeah, from the movie 9 to 5, it's right. He's a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot. From the movie Midnight Run back in '87, he is a slime ball in the sea of pus who stands as the most danger to our electoral system, to our democracy. And I'm serious about that. So let's just tie it back around and say I think the solution is definitely electoral reform. But you cannot keep relying on the same two parties. I am so sorry for the Democrats being associated with the party that they are. They are losing support from working class whites. They are losing support from even blacks and Hispanics. The Democratic Party does not have a natural affiliation with itself because they have competing interests within. They're tearing themselves apart and they're blinded by their own leftist ideology. By people who are so fixated on the latest of the hard left cultural concerns, who believe that being gay is a major life accomplishment. Huh? No wonder they're losing support. Pretty bad too. They don't have the future that we would need to maintain at least some semblance of a functioning democracy, because you certainly can't rely on the Republicans because they are lost too. I'm just constantly looking back to my notes here because there's a bunch of points that I wanted to make, but again, I've got to emphasize it's the electoral reform of some of the things that we need to change. That's beyond that. If you were to ask what some of my policy positions are, I'll admit they are the nominal side of what the Democrats have, which is I'm very concerned about education, environment, decent environmental regulation, especially through things such as protecting people. For instance, one of the internet commentator that I did read from said you can summarize modern conservatism by people who split up into two groups. One group who is looking for, which is advocating laws that bind but do not protect, and the other group for whom it's protection but does not bind. Those are what's the issue here when we were looking at what's proper government. I don't want to keep going on and on about this because I think you understand how important I think the election process is and that I want this electoral reform. A little bit of background about myself. I served on the Sugar House Community Council for 10 years on their board of trustees, served 1 term as chair, 2 terms as secretary, and 2 terms as vice chair. I currently serve, volunteer my time. I'm Cub Master with the local Cub Scout group out of the Wasatch Presbyterian Church. Those are the things that I have. I do encourage you, if I can leave with one thing, a lot of people tell you to be reasonable. No, I'm asking you to be unreasonable. I'm asking you to vote for a third party. I'm asking you not to just throw the vote away, but actually consider saying, I'm looking long-term. Because once we get electoral reform, such as, if we have different ways of counting the votes, such as ranked choice voting, or approval voting, other ways to make it so that you would not be throwing away your vote if you did happen to vote for a third party. So just leave those thoughts with you. Cabot Nelson, looking for your vote this year. Thank you.
Can you do this? Sure.
Yeah, I just did that.
That's right. All right.
We good?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, go on.
No, you're good. All right, I have a different height disparity, so let's make sure they can see each other. Yes.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hong Nguyen. I am here tonight asking for your support to elect me to be our next Democratic Utah House Representative here in District 23. The district that I have called home for the last 25 years. The place that my husband and I have chosen to raise our two boys. Oh, thank you. I'm a pro with these. Yeah, until I fall later on. Wait, I have grown up here in Utah. I went to Briley Elementary, Bryant Junior High, and East High before going on and earning my degree in Women's Studies at the University of Utah. Go Utes! But before all of that, my family and I, we escaped from Vietnam as political refugees after the war, after my father fought with the Americans fighting against communism. We came over to America after we were granted political asylum. Came to the US with my mom and dad and my 7 siblings in 1983. We worked, my mom was a dishwasher, a seamstress. My dad, he figured Americans like cars here. So he went out to the community college there and went to go learn to be an auto mechanic. So he was trained to be an auto mechanic. He had a bus route in the morning. We were trying to figure out how to make it work in our new country. Unfortunately, 4 years after we arrived, my father was coming home from work one night and was killed during an armed robbery by 2 young kids who should have never had them. This left my mom, a 35-year-old widow, with 7 children from the ages of 3 to 15, in a brand new country where we didn't know the language. We didn't even know if they ever got caught. My mom wasn't even given the opportunity to go and understand what happened. It's still all a mystery to us. So my mom worked 4 jobs. My oldest sister stayed home and raised us. She didn't have the opportunity to go to high school, to go to college. She stayed home and raised us. So we watched and learned firsthand what hard work and sacrifice meant. My mom had a cousin living here in Utah. He said, come over here. It's a better place to raise a family than where we were. We moved here in 92. My mom was able to find a home for us on the west side. Growing up on the west side, I loved it. I was there for 10 years, and it's where, when you grow up in your teenage years, it's what forms you, it's what shapes your core values. But we had an opportunity to get up here on the east side, so we took the opportunities. So I've lived for the last 25 years. My roots go deep here. Hi, sorry? I remember going to East High, getting sandwiches at Immigration Market, spending nights and weekends at Laird Park with my friends, now getting to take my boys to go eat gelato 15th for 15th. I love this district. We have a unique district here. Before I get into this district, my family and I, my sister 2012 came to me and said, my older sister Mai, she has a brilliant mind. She's the chairwoman of our company. She came to us in 2012 and said, stop effing around and making other people money. It's time to come home and start a family business. From her saying that, we were able to grow our company into thousands of jobs for Utahns over the years. We currently employ over 500 people. Our employees have voted us the best company to work for time and time again. 5 years ago, I started to go up on the Hill to advocate for more equity and more common sense policy as a small business owner. I started to realize a few glaring issues. 1, there's not enough women up on the Hill. 2, there's not enough diverse voices. And 3, there's not enough business owners who understand what it means to come up with payroll, to pay taxes. One of the greatest badge of honor that we had in the company during the pandemic, where hospitality and we own different restaurants and bars, and they took the brunt of the hits during the pandemic. Our biggest badge of honor for the pandemic was we did not have to lay off one person who still needed the job. We were able to zig and zag through hard work, figure it out, and made sure our employees were still employed. That was a huge thing in hospitality when they shut us down and we were only able to do to-goes. Working up on the Hill, being a business owner, I started making those connections. I've been a lifelong Democrat since I became a naturalized citizen at 18. I chose the party who believed in giving every human being a fair and equal chance. But when I got up on the Hill as a Democrat, realizing the super majority of Republicans Democrats, the reality is, we have to beg and plead for every little scrap that the Republicans will give us. Until we can break that supermajority as Democrats, we have to have those relationships across the aisle to make a difference. Right now, this last legislative session was really personally difficult for me. From the DEI rollbacks, to the attacks on transgender youth, to the destabilization of our public education. Going up there, I know I want to be able to make a difference. And if I don't have, I'm sorry, going up there, I've seen you need your allies on the other side to be able to pass anything. You can't get your bill heard on the floor unless you have Republican support. I have a big job as it is. People have asked me, why you representing city council or mayor? I offer a really different, fresh, unique perspective. Growing up the way we grew up, now being able to make it in this world and be able to find the success that we have, we need more perspective up there. We need more women. We need more diverse voices up there. In this district that I have loved and I've chosen to live here, it's special here. We all know how special District 23 is. From the collection that I learned when I started attending some of these Yellcrest meetings, from the largest collection of Tudor-style homes west of the Mississippi, to all the walkability that we have here, to all the single-family homes that we have a unique history here. All the local historic districts that we don't have that many around the state here. So we need to work to preserve it. On a state level, things that we need to do to protect this district. People love coming here. We enjoy people coming here. But at the same time, the traffic that comes through that baseball stadium that's on Sunnyside, it happened already. There's nothing that we could have done to stop it at that point. But now how do we work with Republicans and other people who control the university to make sure that the neighborhoods around it are not impacted by it? I live over the Mount of Parleys above Foothill. There is the Parleys mine up there. And one of the senators this last session tried to run a bill that took away local and municipal rights to be able to manage, control, and have say in that mine. I'm the closest neighborhood to that mine. Senator Dave Hinkins was the one who was running that bill. I happen to know Senator Hinkins because I have businesses out in Carbon County where he's a senator. I was able to call Senator Hinkins and say, Dave, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I was able to get that stopped. I'm one of those Democrats who have had endorsements from labor unions, Progressive Caucus, Stonewall Caucus, Hispanic Caucus, Labor Caucus, all of these people who I've worked with for so many years and seen the value that I've added through all the different boards I've sat on, from the PBS board to the airport board to the Geraldine King Women's Resource Center. From the inception of that, I was on these boards working on all of these issues to try to make it better. If I had a blank check, I'm not different from my opponent. As a Democrat, we want public education. We want better environment. But the difference here, all these endorsements from the county mayor to our city mayor to the Senate leadership to different people in the House, they have worked with me for years. They want me up there. They want those diverse voices. And I'm asking you guys, where maybe I might not share the same faith as you and may not look like you, but I love Utah as much as anyone here in this room. And I hope that you guys will be able to give me an opportunity, because people that come from backgrounds like mine rarely ever have the opportunity to have a seat at the table. And this is the real opportunity for this district to make history by electing the first refugee and the first Vietnamese American ever to hold state office here in Utah. I want to bring that passion. I want to bring that fight. I want to bring that fresh perspective that we so desperately need up on the Hill. I'm going to work hard for this district because it's my home, but I want to work hard for people who came from my background, who live here in this state, who are struggling to make ends meet right now. I'm going to work hard for you guys, and I'm asking for your support to give me that opportunity. Thank you so much for your time. So we just want to
three candidates, come up. Marguerite is going to be the referee as people raise their hands. Oh, she just told me like 20 seconds ago. Well, I texted you. Oh, I have seen days ago. Oh, days ago? Yeah.
You guys could.
So you can all just get up there. Yeah.
I got to.
Okay. We need you in the frame.
I'll stand
All
for
of
the
you
center
in
and then
the
keep right there, they have a high advantage.
So Marguerite, you can be the referee and Stuart, if you would sort of be the time person.
Sure.
Keep the answers to, 30 seconds or 40 seconds, so that we don't have, War, Tolstoy's War and Peace. He would just respond, okay, so go ahead, you've got questions.
I think we'll start with the women.
Ladies first, oh,
Ladies
great.
first, so. Go ahead.
What?
No,
I thought
They're
were
asking.
Oh, they're asking, okay. Q&A, I'm sorry.
We can ask some questions.
So, who has the first question?
Please don't be shy. I'll by only just limit.
So I'll ask, so what do you feel the state's role is in homelessness and crime? I think too much is being put on Salt Lake City to solve the problem. I think it's a state issue, but
So 30 seconds, if you guys can keep it.
Davis County finally, outside Salt Lake County, finally opened up their first resource center. The state's role in homeless issues, they provide millions of dollars of funding towards it. What's lacking right now, that the state has not done a good enough job, is tracking the data. And speaking and working with, I've been on the downtown city council that works with mayor and Wayne Niederhauser and the chief of police. We worked to try to get more funding, and we got police units inside all of the resource center, which only the men's shelter had before. More work, more collaborative work from the local and state level is needed from across the state. We need more resources. We need state to earn more other counties outside of Salt Lake County to take on those resource centers. It should not be we Salt Lake cities bearing the brunt of it. But their role is to make it a little bit more equitable around the state and be able, there's a lack of data being tracked right now. It's been 5 years since we had this new model. It's been 5 years. Now we need to see the real results. Did it work? Did it not? Do we need to reevaluate?
I have a question. I want to know what your family.
Did anybody else? Anybody else want to answer that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so
Okay,
please, 30 seconds, because that was a minute.
As,
So we're gonna,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes, as somebody who got my degree in urban planning from the University of Utah, I can do another radical thing and say zoning sucks. Now, right now, before you start chasing me out, realizing the background of zoning was a lot to do with a lot of the separation and segregation based on ethnic and skin color, things like that. Zoning right now is being used to segregate between 8,000 square foot lots, 10,000 square foot lots, 12,000 square foot lots, and multi-family. If the neighborhood is good enough to have a nice elementary school, why not allow some apartments, things like that? And it has to be done at the state level. It cannot be done.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. Homelessness is one of my main issues. If you go on our website, we have it listed there with my take on it. And I love the quote, "What you do shouts so much louder than what you say." I have served on the board of directors of the In-Between, which is a hospice center for the homeless. I have experience dealing with this issue, so I'm not just putting it on my website, but I have experience. I do think it's a city, county, and state issue, not just for Salt Lake.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, immunity is a big deal right now, and nationally, and unfortunately, it also is locally. I'd like to hear what you have to say about the immunity that the University of Utah enjoys because of the legislature, and what can be done about that, make them more accountable to the community, and instead of just being immune from any concerns that we might have.
Unity, what, help me out by context, more context.
What's that?
What the context of the immunity concern?
The university, if you have a planning degree, you understand that the university is not accountable to the city for any zoning decisions, any land use decisions. Certainly not with respect to the baseball stadium is a good example.
So, I'm sorry. With immunity, the University of Utah used to have a neighborhood advisory board. They used to have residents from the surrounding neighborhoods to be able to hold, to know what's happening at the university level and hold them accountable and give input. It's gone away. Immunity is a hard one right now until we break that supermajority. I keep talking about break that supermajority and we can make it more equitable and we can have more common sense policies. With immunity, we're not going to do it until we break that supermajority. But until then, we need to push back to get that neighborhood advisory committee back.
I'll just be quick. I think they need to be held more accountable. So I would be in favor and advocate for policies that hold leaders of Utah more accountable. I'd love to speak to you after. I know we only have 30 seconds, but we need more accountability.
I'll probably be more contrarian than the other two. I don't think there's that much of a problem with the University of Utah. We're having that kind of, like you mentioned, immunity. State institutions do not have to abide by local municipal concerns, and that's rather shocking. But you don't want a municipality putting checks on a state institution.
Any other questions?
Question of it. State.
Bring it.
What I'd like to remind you is the government needs to be reminded that it does not generate money. Money is given to the government by people. And then we expect you to spend it accordingly. And when I hear that there's a $957 million surplus, the government comes and says, well, we're going to give you a tax cut. It's not a tax cut. The government's already overtaxed us. They should refund the money with interest. My questions that I have to you guys along that line have to do with tax money, property tax money. I find it hard to believe that we still tax someone's property based on what someone's opinion that that property is worth. Because it's not worth anything until that property is sold. So when you buy a piece of property, you should be locked in. Montana does this. That's what you pay for until you sell that property. Your property taxes do not go up. When that property is sold, then you're responsible for your capital gains tax. Person that buys that property now pays accordingly to what the selling property is. Those are things that I'd like to see talked about in the state Senate on the Hill. The same thing goes with when you buy a used car. When you buy a new car, you've already paid tax on that car. Now you sell that car and it's taxed again. It's double taxation. You sell that car, it's taxed again. That's not right.
So Joe makes a good point about taxation. So, and I'm sorry, we do need to kind of move along, but I appreciate your comments. I think they're very, very valuable. Is the bottom line question just asking them separately about sort of their stance on,
How are we going to spend our tax money?
okay,
And how are you going to control our tax money
great.
from going up?
Thank you so much. Who wants to?
Oh, you-
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good ideas, and looking at Montana, I didn't know that, so thank you for educating me on that. I would love to spend more money on education. I know that's not maybe a response to your question, but I think we need to be dumping more money in the WPU and in more education, and if we do that, the ROI is worth it, so that would be my response.
With taxation, our state loves our state tax revenue. When I went out and spoke about DEI rollbacks, I did the by the numbers thing. The issues that Republicans have about taxes, they don't like how Republicans want to choose, Democrats choose to spend the taxes, right? And so it really doesn't matter how tax is done. That's a big loaded question on how we're gonna spend our taxes. If it was me, I'm not too far off from my friends here. Education, environment, all of that.
Taxation in the state level, you've got the property tax, sales tax, income tax, excise tax, severance tax, there are different taxes like that. Yes, they want to be controlled, but some of the questions you had kind of imply some logical fallacies, I will admit, like, for instance, oh, it's double taxed because it gets taxed every time there's another transaction on that piece. Well, no, it's an ad valorem tax, or it could be a sales tax. Of course, it's going to be taxed in a different part. And property is only as good as other people recognize it. So how about we say, if somebody owns a piece of land, maybe they should pay to tax it for recognition.
I think we're gonna need to close.
Okay.
This is so much fun.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get the ball rolling. Thank you very much for coming. And thanks for your patience with our technology about that. We are now going to have some of our government representatives, and we're going to start with, Detective, Fallows, are you on the line? I'm not sure how to.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here.
Right, and we're gonna hear from Detective Fallows, and then we're gonna roll right into Hannah Barton from the mayor's office, and then our wonderful city councilman, Dan Dugan. So if you three want to just kind of fit right into your opportunities, we'll hear from you now. Thank you. Hannah, can you get, so we can, I'm sorry, you're good.
Alrighty. Me, right? You said me first?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good to be here with everybody tonight. I've got a couple updates about Bonneville Elementary that I'm going to give tonight, and then just go over the crime stats real quick and take any questions if anybody has any. Excuse me. So we'll hit the crime stats first. When we just a quick reminder, we talked about it last time, but we have the new crime dashboard up on our website, slcpd.com. So everything I'm talking about can be found on there. It's pretty easy to read and pretty easy to access, and it gives a good snapshot of what's going on for the month. So for Yellcrest for the month of March, of course, we always go on a month lag so that we can get the full crime stats for the month. So for the month of March 2024, we had a total of 4 crimes reported in the area. Most of those being kind of property. There was 2 vehicle burglaries, which is a theft out of a vehicle, and then 1 larceny as a regular larceny. And then we did have 1 aggravated assault, which is basically an assault that either includes a weapon or could have caused serious bodily injury, something to that effect. We don't see those very often in Yellcrest, and so I don't know that it's super concerning. But what we do see is a lot of property crime. And so this is a good reminder as it's getting warmer, the summertime is coming. Just, I'm starting to see a lot more reports of break-ins and things like that. I've even had quite a few in D6 recently, District 6 recently. So if you are experiencing that, I do need you to report it though, because I would love to put together some operations, some sting operations for either like bike thefts or other types of thefts. With my either property crimes detective unit or with our bike units and things like that. But I've got to have some numbers to help me back it up. So if you're experiencing that, if you're having people break in, steal things, please report it to the to the police so that I can have the numbers to run the operations that I want to do up in District 6, because I know that you guys are not without crime, obviously, and so. But I just want, if people can take the time to report it, then it helps me at a minimum. Like, even if we're not able to make an arrest or something like that, it still gets a dot on the map for me, a pin on the map, and it makes it so that I can utilize resources a lot easier. So a good example of that would be like Bonneville Elementary. So to give a quick update on that, the charges were, I think we talked about this last time, but the charges were filed on that with the district attorney's office. And because we had a lot of incidents there over a short period of time, and because we continue to have incidents that I've been working like with Jan on, and things like that with vandalisms and some of the nuisance crimes and things like that involving either juveniles or other people, I was able to put up a police camera there. So you might have seen it if you've driven by. We put it up yesterday, I believe it was. And so it does help as a deterrent in the area. But again, when I can look at numbers and I can say, hey, we're having these kinds of problems, then it's really easy for me to drive our resources to those areas. So I'll keep it short. Does anybody have any questions for me tonight?
Questions? I don't think so. We appreciate your work, and of course, with all the things that have been going at bottom of the line, we don't have an update. Do you have an update at all about the 2 youth who were involved in that graffiti hate crime in December? Anything new there?
Yeah, that's what when I say the charges were screened and filed, that's what I'm talking about. It's for that incident.
But nothing more about that.
Well, that's basically the final step in the process. And then from there it goes to court and, the regular court process takes place. So the investigation is done. That they have the suspects were identified. They were, the charges were screened. All that stuff has been done. So basically that investigation is done at this point.
Well, thank
Which
you
is a
very
good
much. Appreciate all that you do, Detective Fells.
Yeah, of course. Oh, can I just add one more quick thing? Sorry that
Sure.
I want to talk about. Along the lines of like property crimes or like just like nuisance crimes with juveniles, water balloons, throwing things like that, vandalisms. If you're seeing something suspicious, the quicker you call it in, the quicker we'll be able to respond and deal with it. Now, we may not always be able to respond right away, especially in the summertime when it gets really, really busy. But if you don't call it in at all, then we're never going to respond. And so if you're starting, like if it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, you just happen to be up and you see someone walking through your neighborhood in all dark clothing with a flashlight or something like that, looking into cars, call that in like right away. Don't wait to call those things in, because we've had success recently with people calling in suspicious activities and they've turned into us being able to make arrests. So there was recently a woman who was arrested in can't remember if it was Sugar House or nearby, but it was somewhat nearby, that she had broken into 3 homes, like into the homes, not like tried to get into them, like she was in the house with the homeowners. And I believe only one person actually called us, but we were able to arrest her and make an arrest because the third person called 911 right away when someone was in the house they didn't recognize. So, those are obviously very dangerous situations, and that's an extreme example. But if you're seeing anything suspicious, like just call it in immediately. And if it seems life-threatening, or if it's in progress, like you're watching a window get smashed, then call 911. That's perfectly acceptable. So we need your help as our citizens to be alert during the summer months, especially when it's warm. There's going to be lots of people out. There's going to be lots of criminals out looking for opportunities. So we just try and take those opportunities away as much as we can. And the quicker you call us, the quicker we'll be able to respond. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Yeah, we had 2 instances. I live across from Bottomville Elementary School, and sometimes it just gets wild over there with teenage kids, and SLPD, 3 squad cars came. It was just an amazing show of force. And we got some evidence and a lot of other things that we gathered. So I appreciate all you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Barton from the mayor's office. It's fun to see so many new faces here. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. We're trying something new in the mayor's outreach team, where we're going to start using slides for our updates. I know that sometimes I'm giving out a lot of dates and websites and just lots of information. And so hopefully this is easier to have a like visible aid, I guess. Oh, sorry, I'm not on camera. And then potentially this could go on the Yalecrest Neighborhood Council website if Jan wants to put in there, just so that there's a bit more of a record here and some more consistency. I'm of course always open feedback. So if the text is too small or you feel like it's not helpful, just tell me, because I'm flexible, I can change. So first I wanted to let everyone know the construction season is upon us with the nice weather. I'm sure all of you have noticed. There are some local street reconstruction projects going on this construction season. This happens every year, where a number of local streets are reconstructed. Sometimes that includes curb and gutter. Sometimes it's just the asphalt. This is the only street that's going to be redone in Yalecrest. It's Bonneview Drive between 15th East and Michigan. So just a section there. I have included the website here where you can see all of the local street projects that are going to be done this year. There's a number throughout District 6. This is just the only one that's in Yalecrest. And then there's a contact here, Delphia in engineering. She can answer any questions about these local street reconstruction projects. Or you can always reach out to me and I can get your answer as well. On that same note, I know you may have looked at that map and said, why isn't my street being redone? I feel like it's kind of falling apart. And this week we are celebrating our second annual pothole palooza at the city. Since Monday, we have filled 6,000 potholes throughout the city, which is not the same we did last year during this week. And we're hoping to beat that record. So we're really relying on residents to submit pothole requests. Hopefully, I mean, I'm sure we'll be able to get over that number from work being done tomorrow. But this does not just have to happen this week. This is something you can do year round. Obviously, pothole filling is dependent on the weather. So when it's snowing and raining, it's not something that can be done. But if it's dry, and in the spring and summer months that are coming up, submit as many pothole requests as you can or want. I guess I should move. Maybe I can move that. Okay, you can see it. You can do that two ways. You can do that online at myslc.gov, which is pretty user friendly. You can also use the SLC mobile app. This here is a picture of the app, that blue screen. Sorry, it's kind of pixelated. That's just a screenshot from my phone. And then this is the page of the app. That's what it would look like if you were submitting a service request for a pothole. So I know that the app may not be everyone's ideal form of submitting service requests. So you're of course always welcome to reach out to me. Or if you have the app downloaded, but you don't quite know how to use it, I'm happy to sit down and show you how to use it. Because I know that sometimes the interface can be a little bit confusing. And I know that Eric submitted some pothole requests this past month and let us know that there was a little bit of a user experience problem because he got notifications that the requests had been closed, but the potholes weren't filled yet, which is obviously a problem because when you see that your request has been closed, you want to know that the work has already been done. So I let the streets team know that that was an issue and hopefully we can fix that so that everyone's having a better experience on their end. But yeah, if you have issues with the app or if you feel like you submit a service request that hasn't been responded to, please reach out to me. We are constantly working on trying to improve our customer experience. I know local governments are not necessarily known for that. So please give me feedback. I'm happy to receive it. Okay, next, the Arts Council has a grant fund open right now for artists. They're seeking applications from artists to install temporary public art projects in each of the 7 city council districts, specifically focused on the Great Salt Lake. This was a really cool grant that the city was awarded by Bloomberg Innovation Group or Innovation Fund. And it's really exciting. So if any of you are artists or know any artists or artist organizations that are interested in applying, please send them to this URL here or send them to me. Those applications close next week on the 18th at 11 a.m. Next, I think I already announced this at last meeting, but there's so many more people here, which is really exciting. If anyone is looking for a service opportunity, the city is hosting a number of Earth Day cleanup events on and around Earth Day. So Saturday, April 20th is Earth Day when a number of the volunteer opportunities are happening. But there's also volunteer events on that following Monday and Tuesday as well. So if you're interested, there are morning and afternoon shifts available, and we would love to have you. slc.gov/stewardship is the website to sign up for that. Lastly, just want to share some good news that the RDA Board of Directors, which is our wonderful city, comprised of our city council members, they approved $17.7 million in funding for affordable housing projects citywide, which is great. That's a total of 14 projects that will yield over 1,500 units. 430 of those units will be rented at 40% AMI, which essentially means if the area median income is $100,000 and you are making 40% of that, so you're making $40,000, those units would be for you. 163 of those units will be rented between 61 and 80% AMI, and 264 total units will be 3 and 4 bedroom units for families, which is great. And if you want to learn more about that or where those projects are specifically, you can go to slc.gov/housing stability. I think that's all I have. Here's my contact information if anyone would like it. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yeah.
I just have a challenge. I'd like to challenge the mayor to come ride her bike along my brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a street we've been complaining about for the last 8 years. And the potholes don't even come close to even fixing that street.
It's
It's a dangerous road to ride on your bike because
Sure.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know why between 18th East and 17th East, Yellowcrest got a full resurfacing of that street, when ours, the 18th East is worse. A lot of the streets are worse. How did they get that area, how did they qualify
Yeah.
for that to be totally resurfaced when none of the other streets that are worse got to be resurfaced?
So the Streets Division, a couple of years ago, did a really intense data gathering project where they created a pavement condition map of the whole city, basically assessing every single street in the city at its current condition and its deterioration rate, how frequently it's used, and trying to anticipate or at least use a data-oriented approach to start resurfacing every street throughout the city. I mean, as soon as you finish resurfacing one, you're gonna have to just keep going continually. So that is how those decisions are made. I think they recognize that pavement, regardless of all that data, still deteriorates sometimes differently than we expect. And some streets with little traffic sometimes have, different traffic patterns over the years that lead to that deterioration. So I'm happy to check with the streets team and see if they know, when LeGrand is on the schedule for, or 18th East, either one. But that's how those decisions are made. So it's supposed to be, it is a data-oriented approach, and it's with that equitable lens in mind. But I also recognize that a lot of this street work has been delayed since, 2008, essentially. So we are still working through a backlog and will be for a long time. So, yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, that's another one, and I agree
Yeah.
with you on the range, because I read my bicycle on that street.
It's like that.
And I don't drive my car on the street.
It's kind of an accident.
It is, and there's a number of streets across the city in similar conditions. And in 2018, we passed a bond to $87 million for street reconstruction, knowing in 2018 that wasn't going to be enough to cover all the streets that we needed, because we had such, from 2008 to 18, we didn't do anything. So we're on the power curve, as we said, and we need to get back up to that thing. And I'm talking about that in our budget. But you're right, and there's a number of streets across the city in that same condition. Right now, that is a totally failed street, so that now has to be totally redone. And they have a number of streets in that same condition that have a lot more higher traffic rate. So they're pinpointing that, but they're also pinpointing them across the city. So it's a tough problem, but I'll touch base on that in a second when I talk about budget.
My only comment, Allison, because you did bring it up, I would challenge everyone, if you have a bad street, and I know the majority of us do, go look at the street assessment. Dan Jones sent me the website. My street is terrible. It's like LeGrand. It's actually rated good condition. And there is no way. So go look at your street. The assessment the city got rid of on their assessment. Just go and look at the assessment. That's all I gotta say, because I disagree with it. And no one will change it. We paid for it.
And they should be, I've been told that they go through all the streets to reassess it, because we have a number of streets that are failing higher than other streets, but you're right. Yeah,
No.
I'm not gonna,
I know, man. You go to the.
but I will say, but I'm gonna go to the slide with the,
Oh, my
left.
slide.
Sorry, the slide.
I thought you wanted an actual page.
Yeah.
That shows the whole issue. You got this one little sliver and that whole area. It's
And we
all
have
terrible.
seven districts have that same problem, and then we end up with a lot of construction going on. If you go up, towards, Indian Hills.
Yeah.
Up on the backside of Indian Hills, there's been construction of 3 large homes in the back corner there. And from Kensington up to that area, it's beat up all the time. So you're right there. I just want to go back to the page right here, and Eric's used this, others have used this, and I keep on pressing to use this mobile app. And I've used it a number of times. I've actually used it in the wintertime and taken pictures during the snow and saying, hey, we need to fix this. And they will fix it in the wintertime, as long as they can, clear out the snow and ice. They'll do those things. It doesn't always work as well in the winter because of the temperature. Real simple. The best thing to do is when you're taking a walk and you see a pothole, just take a picture at that point, because it pinpoints your location. You say detail, pothole. You take a picture, you add it there, you hit submit, it's gone. And just quickly go there. Sending an email to Hannah, sending an email to me is like convoluted way around the world in a balloon to get to the problem. This one quickly goes there. And as Eric pointed out, that it says it's closed, that's because
they got the information, they closed it, but it actually went to transport or streets to fix it, so. Do this, use this app, and just anytime you're on a walk, take pictures, and you get action, because we are the one district that's, submits the most potholes. Sorry,
I'll start with your presentation and maybe ask questions afterward. Is that okay?
yeah,
You
oh,
want to get started?
yeah, I am. Oh, this is my presentation, we're done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I'm gonna go back to what Detective Fowler said on his side here.
Stand over.
Oh, yeah.
We can see you or.
799-3000. 801-799-3000. That's the phone number to call for non-emergency police reports. If you don't want to go online like Jan did for the vandalism that was going on in Bonneville, 799-3000 is the number to call. They'll take all the information you can. They can kind of pinpoint the time at that point. Then the police department can start pinpointing different things that are happening at different times, and then they can kind of track that on. And I say that because a couple of years ago, working with the 4 years ago with the police department, we were able to track a couple pinpoints of guys breaking into houses and cars, and we were able to catch a guy because we could see his track record and we could see when he was doing things, and then we caught the guy. But we only caught him because people were calling it in. If it's emergency, 911. Otherwise, 799-3000. Put that in your phone. It's in my phone. Just use it. Going back to some business development side of the house. I spoke with Foothill Village, Ashley from the Foothill Village. They are fencing off the Steinmart area area to knock that down, to break that through Curtis Park, but also to revitalize and put some more stores there, and also make it a passageway to Curtis into Foothill Village. They're already doing some face work on some of the stuff on the north side, and they are still working on the parking lot. They've had a lot of issues with the parking lot, as you all know, right? They've found a lot more problems every time they try to chip away something. They got a big hole there by the liquor store, and that's not, that hole's not going away. Well, yes, it is going away, but it's getting bigger. So they're working on the parking lot in sections, but the Steinmart area is blown out. They're going to be working with the city and Parks and Economic Development to have that passageway walkway down to Curtis, and then hopefully work with the city, maybe donate some money to provide from the foothill to the street a walkway, and then work on the playground in the back there. Lamplighter, looks like the liquor store is going to be opening up in the spring of next year. Is my best bet. I got word that it might be the end of this calendar year, but I think it's closer to it's probably the first quarter of 25. Jan's been getting some updates on Miller Bird Park, and she's got the updates, and if you have any questions, that you've got the emails, and I think you've also posted it on your website with links and stuff like that. So I appreciate that work there. Sunnyside, 14th East, there was a CIP about street calming. 14th Other East, this is where the East High School tennis courts are, and then the Waterford football field are, where the street bends. Barbara Carwell is working with the city, and I'm working with her on the redesign of that intersection and putting dividers there so we can walk across that thing safely. There's some struggle between East High School and Robin and I on a placement here. Robin and I are, luckily, we're together on that side, on one side of it, so we're working that. My concern also on that Sunnyside section is with Roland Hall's development is not so much that intersection, but the intersection of Sunnyside and Amanda. Amanda doesn't go into Sunnyside, but there's a crosswalk there because there's a bus station on 900 South. They take Amanda to the end of the cul-de-sac and they walk across there. My concern there is that crosswalk when Roland Hall starts going on, and probably put a crosswalk with a hawk or something of that nature there. So that's in the future coming down the pipe. And we have a lot. Oh, budget season coming up. The mayor will present her budget to us, I think the 6th or 7th of May. And then we start the budget season, and we go through the budget season until June. We have to approve our budget by the end of June. The season starts, fiscal year starts 1 July. One of my biggest pushes, and I've been pushing for quite a while now, is the street repair. We had a bond, it's a 20-year bond, so it takes us 20 years to pay that off, and we're gonna still pay that off. We do have some one-time funding from fund balance, and I want to use some of that funding to pay for more street reconstruction, not just potholes, but street reconstruction. We have a short season, we can do that, but we need to add more money to that, and then we have an opportunity at this point to do that. I've already told the council members, they're in agreement with this. I've told the administration that we need to add more of this. We also need to add more equipment to do that. And this is the mill lane, which allows us to do repairs at the good level instead of waiting till they're at the Grange area or at, you know, a beautiful area, a beautiful level. We can repair them in the mid-level, and that will allow us to keep streets that are better condition. But we need more money to do that, and that's one of my biggest pushes right now is the funding on that level. So any other project requests or desires, send me an email, let me know. Send me whatever you want to do, just let me know what you want to budget. You know, police officers, fire, or we're negotiating with them right now on the contract. But our public safety, public transportation, and streets and roads.
Dan to Joe's question, which I thought was very valuable, prior, and that is this. You know, when does the city, and I would say you haven't done this, perhaps you have, say, we're going to cut taxes, not raise them. Because there's been about a 35% increase in the city budget over the last 3 or 4 years. And maybe it's been necessary. I mean, you know, obviously, there's justification for everything. But I think it's a question of when does the city have discussions among themselves about, can we give the residents something back instead of asking for more?
Good question there. So we have sales tax and we have property taxes. Those are our taxes that run the city. Sales tax and property tax. Sales tax are fluctuating. They've been going up recently. They actually did. We were one of probably the best economies in the nation. Not only Utah, but Salt Lake City. Sales tax is just because people are downtown buying things. So those fluctuate, but that is one of our biggest revenue generators for us. We're not raising your taxes in that case. People are just spending their money downtown. But they're flattening out now. So
Yeah,
that's
That's been going down.
a bond is a tax.
a bond is tax, okay, a bond is a tax, yes, you're right, but we have property taxes too. Property taxes do go up, you're right. We raised property taxes last time. But we also have, there's 12 lines to your property taxes, the county, there's the library, there's the Madden Mosquito Abatement District. There's a number of property taxes there. We raised ours 4%. All the other districts can also raise their own property taxes. So that is one way to add. But when we, the city, gets those property taxes, you'll see it sets a tax rate. But your property tax for Salt Lake City, your house, we only get X amount of dollars. We cannot get any more money unless we have truth in taxation and we raise that rate. Our rates, because our house values have gone up, our tax rate has come down because your Salt Lake City tax portion of that rate has not changed. Other taxing entities may have raised their tax rates, and so your taxes have gone up in that property tax because it's 12. Because there's 12 lines, but that is also the county, right? The school board, right? The library, those are all, they are not out of our, they're not in our control. So there's 12 lines there, we control city line. So like, yes, we have to look at that, and part of that look at that is also how we spend our money, and what does our residents want us to spend their money on. And you know, you have a baseball stadium and you have a hockey stadium, and I'm not gonna.
I know.
So, yes, Jim.
Yeah, in 96 years ago, the taxpayers paid for a baseball stadium at the corner of the 13th South and West Temple. And in 1940, the taxpayers again built a stadium, they called it Dirk's Field. They were both baseball stadiums. During the D. Cornelius administration, we built a third baseball stadium there, and it's now known as Smith Ballpark. You're gonna bulldoze it, or what's going to happen to it?
I can't tell you what
It
to do.
seems to be there's an awful lot of taxpayer money that's gone into that intersection, and we're not sure what the city intends to do with it. Steiner is the same thing, except that money was raised by private people. And now the city has decided that that doesn't need to be expanded according to the 1980s master plan. So I think there's an accountability that the city really ought to be stepping up and telling us what's really going on.
That on Smith Park, there is no baseball being played there at this time, right? The bees are gonna go away. The university doesn't want to use it. They want to use their own, their field, right? Smith Ballpark, the designs, they had a design competition, and all those design competitions that came through, all of them kept the baseball diamond. Kept the stadium intact and reconfigured it to do something else. And I see that also happening, is that stadium is a historic piece of property and landmark. That stadium will stay there as a stadium, and it will just be transformed into something else with different fields and different housing and everything else there. Right now, there is no need for a baseball stadium at that point, but we can use that land and the asphalt that's north of it to do something better. And that's what they plan to do. But I can't tell you, since I'm not an architect, design what it's gonna look like, but I think it's gonna be pretty cool.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to just, suspend with my announcements. You don't need to hear any more information from me tonight. I think we've kind of covered a lot of things. Hopefully you're online and you're receiving our newsletter and you're watching on Facebook, because I send out a lot of announcements that way. And so I will just, make sure that whatever some of the things that we're gonna additionally talk about tonight, we'll cover in those two venues. But tonight, we'll just say good night and thank you very much. And thanks again to Cabot and Huang and Jeff. Thank you. Well,